Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. We also have
Calvin, Ellis, ready to rock.
today we are talking about Lanterns. Lanterns is out. Lanterns had a big splash, pulled in 9.3 million viewers on HBO for the first 3 days, not including what
That's
the hmm?
I said that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So, and they have a whole bunch of other things talking about. What do you say about this, sir? What are your first thoughts on it?
Well, for all you guys who want something to watch, 9 o'clock, HBO. If you got HBO, HBO Max, whichever one may be, Lanterns first episode was entertaining. Uh, they have a what is it? What was that series? True Detective? It's like
Yeah.
a True Detective feel to it. There's that setup. Acting is fine. It's entertaining at the end of the day. The only caveat that I have for comic guys like myself, this is not Hal Jordan and it's not John Stewart. Now, if you can vibe that these guys are going to be introduced in a manner that is definitely not the characters that you recognize from comics or from cartoons, you're fine.
Wow. Um, Before I get into what I thought, basically it is as he said. We start off. Well, actually, we start off seeing Green Lantern, talking on TV, and these kids have this moment where they're watching them and they're enjoying it. They're waiting for their dad to be home, and they're like, I guess it looks like they're supposed to be doing chores or something like that because they're watching out for the dad to come home. And at the same time, they're watching Green Lantern. His outfit looks puffy for some strange reason, doesn't look form fitting at all. But this sets up that he's kind of this man of the people. And we see the father come in and they talk about what it is to be a lantern and that sort of thing. And then we see when the father gets home, the father preparing the son to be that sort of lantern, the fear aspect, and see that this kid has no fear. So it sets that set up, but then when we roll to the future, we have him in the car with Hal Jordan now as an adult, and we have this, scene where they kind of having this tough kind of car ride. He's like, when is he going to get trained? And we get the scene we saw in the trailer and the teasers where Hal jumps out and John Stewart has the ring. And he basically goes into town. And in this, they also do something that wasn't in the comic books where they kind of set up Hal as a person of the people. I didn't think he necessarily wasn't, but Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams kind of set up that he's helped all the other people, even though he saved the Earth many a times. So they're really trying to ground him as this person of the people. He's getting food for free. All the people love him, but at the same time, an alert comes from himself, and it's an alert that he needs to watch out to go to. What's it? Is it Nebraska that he goes to? Or I have that wrong?
I, bel I can't remember if it was Nebraska. I just thought it was like some nondescript
Yeah.
Middle Western country, Middle Western state.
So he's going back to where he had actually gotten the ring, and it's at this where the crime is, the scene of the crime, where you have these people have died at this thing, and Hal Jordan thinks there's something more to it, but the police officer, she's like, "No, you can't get involved." And then they're saying, "I need to be trained. What should I do?" So hey, scope the scene, and of course somebody runs, and Stewart goes and stops the person, they bring an interrogation, and then then there's a whole other subplot of how trying to get to prison to interrogate him. That doesn't work out, but that connects him to the family of the police officer. They have all their wayward. They're obviously NRA type people. They got guns. They're ready to protect America. They don't have a particular thing obviously yet about color, so they're just about protecting America from aliens. That's who they see as the big problem, not necessarily the government, but aliens. And this is a hint of the alien stuff that's going on. Then, of course, how when they get out of this thing, they go in there to interrogate, and Hal is doing the most basic interrogation, showing he has no skills, but he had basically doing the most basic thing, and obviously it trips up the alien, and we have this action moment, and this leads to where we get to the end, where we rush to the future. Now John Stewart has a goatee, and they're reflecting on this time in the somber, and we see, the thing that we've worried about all before this, that Hal has died, and John Stewart is here, but John Stewart isn't Green Lantern yet, it seems. Um, so for me, it was True Detective, but this was like kind of an old TV show and kind of a bad Green Lantern thing, because I guess you can say, only thing I was thinking of a comic book that had um, kind of a ratchety mentor who was a hero, but he had many battle scars. This comic book called 2112, where the lead hero is this old, worn out guy who is trying to unearth something that people don't want to look at. These mutates, and he takes on his charge. Who's like, I'm the best student. I get stuck with the with the worst trainer, but he gets into all of the heavy action, and it gets him thrown off. So it was the closest thing, but I can say for regular people who don't, obviously wouldn't have read that comic book, it kind of like a training day. So it has True Detective, but it has training day. They do the car thing, that sort of things that had that symbol. He does something crazy in the car we saw in the trailer. So it's kind of playing that up. But he's a loved, well, I guess, Alonzo had his respect in the town, that sort of thing. So it's kind of playing up that sort of thing and having the tension of them playing off of each other, and this person who's ready to do work, just like Ethan Hawke's character, but the other one won't let him do anything. So for me, it was just kind of tough that it wasn't the best mystery. It was kind of like the alien. It wasn't going as far as Mad TV. If you ever see the skits, Smith, John, I'll cut it in. Smith, John is running for president, and he is an alien trying to portray himself as a human, but he doesn't get all the human inflection. He doesn't understand that you don't say your name, Smith, John. So I am Smith, John. If I could do this, could I turn this like, ah? If I was an alien, I would have burned up right now. So it was like they did a whole bunch of skits where the alien trips himself up. But obviously, there's a lot of layers, a lot of good performances. A lot of actors that I like that are in this. So it's something that you're definitely going to want to continue watching. But at the same time, I was kind of bothered that there's only one ring, and at the same time that Jon Stewart doesn't seem to have the ring. So they're trying to go through a rite of passage for Jon Stewart, or maybe he hasn't even showed that he has it yet. But I could be totally wrong on that. So, but it does seem like we're getting the rite of passage to prove to the audience, besides him, his father shooting apples off his head with a gun, is that he's fearless. Because that's the reaction to people say, hey, in my opinion, people say, why didn't the ring go to Batman? We know he doesn't have any fear. Oh, they have to be reckless. So we can see the difference between Batman, who fears nothing, and a guy with no fear. That means he's totally reckless. And we show in Hal's driving, where Hal, if you look at it, Hal Jordan character is based off a leading man. Now, Paul Newman. In shots, you can see almost exactly like Paul Newman. They were going for all of that, a classic, leading man in him, and the ring goes to the person. And we didn't need them to explain beforehand why. He said, go to someone. The ring made the decision. It must be right. And then the same thing goes to Guy Gardner. Hey, it's a school teacher or gym teacher. Hey, it must be right. Oh, the next one they go to an architect. Hey, the Guardians in the Ring knows. They know his true heart. And I think they got tripped up in the Green Lantern movie, where they have obviously have someone go through the hero's journey saying, I'm not a hero. I'm going through where it worked with Neo is not working for the Green Lantern movie. The Green Lantern movie doesn't look that bad compared to a lot of DC movies. But at the same time, I guess we have to see how it plays out. But I hope there's more to the death of Hal Jordan, and there might be another mystery involved rather than just turn that up. But at the same time, I don't want, if he's dead, I don't want him to show up as as an imp or Phantom Menace, where he just comes and gets on Jon Stewart's nerves, so he can always be in the series, but as his own recording in the ring. Like that's going to be a total waste. And that's when I brought up 2112. It was like the character and the lead and the character, they had their issues, but there's a moment where the hero literally dies in front of his cadet, right? And the hero is like, look, whatever you do, use what I did. Use his fear of me against him, like the villain in the story. And that's a powerful moment. We don't get that with this, but we're going to get him getting reaction. Maybe we have unless Hal comes back, having the ring say to him, Hal would be proud of you. And it's just like, I'm going to be like, get the out of here. I'm not buying into that. So that's my overall feelings. Um, yeah. Are you ready for episode 2 coming out
Yeah,
soon?
yeah, I am. I want to see some of the stuff that you brought up. I want to see if they address that because I didn't believe they only had one ring.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe that that would be ridiculous if they only had one ring and that somehow, okay, you can't get a ring until I'm out of it. That would be utterly ridiculous. So I'm not sure how they're playing things. I didn't believe Hal Jordan was dead at the end of the episode either.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, that's it. Because if he was, I can't imagine them just leaving him there on the bleachers. Okay, John.
Yes.
Okay, John, come in. And we don't know. Hal's over here. Maybe we can touch him. I was like, this man is dead. Take him to a morgue.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, okay, they have some other stuff going on. They want to do the detective thing. And that last sequence, I was thinking he was Green Lantern because they cut this up into 10-year intervals starting from 1996. So it's 1996, 2006, 2016, 2026. So if by 2026 he's not Green Lantern, you're telling me this guy's been in training for 10 years?
Oh, I didn't
That
know. I
that would
didn't
be
realize it was a jump. They were doing jumps. I know he did a jump from the face, but not that much a jump. So keep going. Sorry.
yeah. So I was just like, okay, he's got to get the ring. If not, it's like there's a problem. So I'm not sure how they're addressing it, and then I'm not sure how this is going to fit into Green Lantern lore overall because again, there can't be only one ring because Guy Gardner has a ring. So th I'm not sure how this is going to fit into like the lore overall because you don't just have the Green Lantern Corps, but you have the Sinestro Corps, you have the Star Sapphire Corps, all that type of stuff. So, man, this reminds me of I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to use that line for the rest of the time. This is like Green Lantern on a budget. So I don't know if there's stuff that we just can't see because they're like, no, we got to save the money for like the later episodes when they're going to be the big fight scene or what have you. So we can't show anything now. So we're just going to show a bunch of, he'll make a dollar bill. He'll make it, he'll make a can, he'll make a can opener or a bottle opener, but that's all we're going to get for right now. The reckless aspect, might be, I mean, I always thought the reason Batman never got the ring is because if you go by the whole spectrums, Batman doesn't what they wanted to do with the whole man without fear thing with Hal Jordan and the rest of the Green Lantern Corps is that these guys are able to like, it's not so much that they're fearless, but they can control their fear. That's at least the more modern take on it. Before it was just, fearless, but you didn't have all these guys. Great. And then with Batman, what they said was that Batman was able to use fear. So that would put him like more in the Sinestro Corps with the Yellow Lanterns at the end of the day. That's more of the modern take. But if we most of these characters, don't have a lot of fear at the end of the day. So if you don't somehow make that distinction, then anybody can get the Green Lantern ring in the Justice League. Does Green Arrow or Wonder Woman, Superman, Hawkman, any of those guys ever show they have any fear? Not really. So, some distinction in terms of what it means to be without fear in part of the Green Lantern Corps, I think that would be okay. Otherwise, if it's just recklessness, I just think I thought they would just what they decided to display Hal's character as. And this is them displaying Hal's character almost 20 years after we see him on television by Jon Stewart. What was there was something else and it's escaping. Something else is escaping me right now. Oh, you notice how we didn't see him in the Green Lantern suit?
Yeah.
And remember, what was the reasoning he gave? Do you remember the reasoning he gave why he wasn't wearing the suit?
He's like he's not a beat cop. He's more like a detective. He doesn't, it's more formal. He was saying it was formal, and now as a seasoned vet, he doesn't have to wear those outfits. I think something like that.
Yeah. It was something like, when you start off, the things you think you need to do. And then when you get experience, you realize I don't need to do this type of stuff. So you're like, huh? So their justification is that as you get further along as a Green Lantern, you realize you don't need to identify yourself as a Green Lantern. And then he's like, I'm not a beat cop. I'm like, no, you're not a beat cop. You're a space cop. You're part of a corps. That uniform is supposed to identify you as a Green Lantern. That's part of it. And then, of course, we see Guy's in the suit. So we need some understanding of what exactly the core is. As soon as he said that, I was like, good grief, on a budget, right? We can't have you walking around in a suit all the time. You know, we got to save some money. So it's gonna be civvies for you, denim and a members only jacket.
Well, I think because I hadn't, you know, outside of I think in the 90s or 80s, there's a few Green Lanterns that I checked out or wanted to check out. I think when they started with who's that guy? After the Core and Millennium, they had who's that? The guy Pat Broderick doing Green Lantern for a little while, and then they had Gene Ha, and then I think for someone after Parallax, they had slipped in something that was like something they were having a whole bunch. They're supposed to have a whole bunch of sci-fi guys redo the DC universe, and they only had Larry Niven do Ganthet's tale. And Ganthet is kind of like, kind of the cynical, what was it, a cynical guardian, but he runs into Hal to say you got to go on this mission, this, that, and the other. But Hal was like, all right, let me get ready. I gotta, even though, I'd like to, do the chant. He's like, come on, we don't need to do that. I'm a living battery. And he's like, Hal was like, no. He's like, this, that, and the other. He believes in it. So, I mean, that's the thing. One of the things that you have that you should always do, which is always can be fun, is having the characters appreciate, like the moments, I guess, in Man of Steel, where what's the name is like, oh, like your outfit is so great. His mother's outfit is so great, or I think in the Alpha Flight, Heather looking at the Guardian and that sort of thing, showing that these things are freaking cool. Not saying, oh, I gotta put on this outfit, like just that and the other, and this, I gotta do all this. It's like, yo, and that was the John Stewart bit where I don't need the mask. That was his bit where and Hal's like, what are you talking about? That sort of thing. So it's kind of like Wolverine decided and the Morrison X-Men. He's like, yeah, we should have gotten out of those a long time ago. Like, who's gonna tell Wolverine to put on an outfit or not put on an outfit? He decided that he wasn't gonna wear the mask. They had literally no one flipped out. Wolverine was literally sewing his suit back together. Like he's literally in the burn one, he's sewing his suit back together. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
but
According to the show, Hal says he only wears a suit now for special occasions.
um,
So for Guy Gardner, every day is a special occasion.
yeah, that's the thing, to have someone as unbuttoned up as Guy Gardner and having well, yeah, we guess we'll have to say the benefit of the doubt. Right now, John Stewart is a Lantern unless they say different in episode 2. So we'll have to see how that goes. Anything else that you want to say about this?
No, I thought it was, again, and I try to take this approach because I know people listen, and I don't think don't want them to think uh I'm being down on it or we're being down on it. If you go in, yeah, I think it was a fair start. I do want to see more of the whole thing. But for those of us who are like, yeah, like me, I'm 100% comic guy. If you cut me open, Action Comics and a whole bunch of other four color things are going to jump out of my veins. I'm a comic guy. So when I watch this stuff and these guys aren't in character, it stands out. It just does. So if you're somebody like, oh, you're gonna note that as well. Like, hey, that's not John Stewart. John Stewart doesn't talk like that. John Stewart would not have sex with some nondescript woman in a parking lot. Yeah, those are things that are going to glare at you. But it doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's not entertaining, and you can't. And it's not interesting for the start, and it doesn't mean that I won't come back to see how it resolves, because I do have some questions, and I am interested to see how it plays out further.
Did you see Grandma though?
Did you see did you see Grandma?
I
I
saw
saw Grandma
Grandma.
too. That was a honey trap. You're not supposed to do it.
Yo, but
That's
wait,
like,
wait,
this is
wait,
not James
but
Bond with Anna
Cal,
on it.
did
This
you
is
see
not James
Grandma?
Bond. This is not James Bond with Anna on the top. You're supposed to say no. And then you find out this chick is married. So you're like, oops, how did that happen? And then we're going to find out she's probably an alien. Oh my goodness.
A hot alien.
My boy Professor CA came up with a theory. If his theory is correct, it's going to be like, oh my goodness, John, what are you doing?
Well, I'll say this. It's related. You know, Salma Hayek's a grandmother too, and she joins the gilfs. Totally
That was
related.
that was low. That was a low blow, man. That was a low blow.
Well, it's not a
Come
low
on.
blow. She still looks
I'm
like
trying to
Salma
No,
Hayek.
man. I'm trying to stay up here, and you're doing everything in your power to bring me to the dark side with you. I'm
When am
trying to
I
stay
gonna
over
be able to
here.
bring this up? This was the
You got to
perfect time.
did you really have to come over there and throw kryptonite in over here? You have to invoke the name of Selma Hayek. How can I say no now?
Hey,
How can I say no now?
hey, I'm just I'm just presenting the facts. It's just the facts. Yeah.
Those are some really big facts.
All right, so we will be back though. We have to hear from Mars and his opinion on this. So we will be back. You might hear my same opinion, but we're definitely getting Mars on this. Thank everybody for checking this out. Like, subscribe. Spin a rack is
Out later days.
we are. If I ever hit the button, let's set in. Hope that ain't it. Is this guy? Here we go.